What's going on, college football fans? Welcome back to the First and Long College Football Show. As always, I'm your co host, Marcus, joined by my co host, Mason. And today we've got Between the Lines coming at you. It's our best bets against the spread. We're trying to help you beat the books in Vegas today, and that's every Thursday. This is our weekly betting show. Every Thursday, we typically do that. Obviously, tomorrow's Halloween. We got kids. We're going trick or treating. So we're getting this thing out early for you guys. So an extra day to get ahead on these lines. Thank you so much for joining us here on the First and Long College Football Show. Mason, how you doing, buddy? You ready to lock up some picks, man?
Yeah, man, always ready. I always second guess myself going into Saturday. But hey, I shoot fast. I shoot from the hip on usually Thursday nights, but early in the week, we just kind of let them all out there, and then Sunday I'm caught licking my wounds, and
That's what she
figuring out I
said.
made some bad bets. But now, ready to get into it with you. After last week, I was 6-7 on the week. Money lines were down for me. I've been really hot on the money lines, but I was down 2.85 units on the money lines. That puts me at 41-49-1 on the year, and I am still up 7.15 units on the money line.
I need to go back and check out my units on the money line. I know I've hit money line picks in 3 different weeks. One of those weeks I hit both. So I've hit 4 money line picks out of, probably 14 or so this year. And guys, just so you know, on this show, we keep track of all this stuff. We put it out there so you know what our track record is. We're one of the only, you see these breakdowns and all this stuff. You never see anybody come on here and tell you how many times they were wrong, right? And that's what we're here to do. We're okay with that. We're doing our very best. I'm 43-38-1, so I've got an over 500 record this season, betting against the spread. Last week I was 6-6, so a cool 500 there. No loss, no gain. But this week I'm going to make some money. I've got some good picks this week. I feel good about these. Let's jump into it, man. And as we always do, we start with the big ones. So let's start with the big boy of the weekend. Let's start with Ohio State at Penn State going down at noon. Ohio State in that game is a 3-point favorite last I saw, and the over-under is set at 46. Got lights cutting on and off in here for some reason. Do you have a play on that game, Mason?
I do. I am taking, and we talked about these defenses obviously in the preview, and talked about how slow the starts have been for Ohio State and Penn State. So give me the first half under at 23.5. I think that this is going to be one of those heavyweight fights. Two strong defensive teams. They're going to come out, want to feel each other out on offense to see, what's the defense giving us. How can we put our quarterback in the best situation to win throughout this game and maintain confidence throughout this game? Try to get the running backs involved. I don't think that either team is going to be able to run the ball very effectively in this match. So give me the first half under 23.5. I think this is probably my best bet of the week if I had to pick one.
I'm going under for the full game total. So I agree with obviously what you're saying. I think this is going to be a low scoring football game here. Especially whenever you sit and look at the injuries that are going on here for Ohio State. And I talked about in our breakdown that we did yesterday. And if you guys missed it, we went ahead and did the full on breakdown of that game yesterday, and that's posted up and everything. So go check that out. I said that Ohio State was going to need to be able to hit a play and back, and what I meant, hit over the head of the defense, hit a long play, right? I don't know that the offensive line is in good enough shape to be able to hold up for these long developing plays in this football game. So I'm not so sure how much of that. I mean, I can totally see these super athletic wide receivers for Ohio State maybe having some yards after the catch or something like that. But to drop back and take a 5-step drop or a 7-step drop and let guys go out on routes or trios or whatever. I don't know if you're going to have that much time in this football game With that being said, Ohio State hasn't been running the ball very good here lately. Penn State, it's questionable what, Drew Aller's going to play, I think, but how healthy is he, right? So there's a lot of factors going into this. Give me the under 46 in that one. And it sounds like we're pretty much
Yeah.
And Jeremiah, I see you in the comment section.
It looks like we're good. I pulled my phone out to check on the audio, and I can hear it. It's something on his
Good.
end.
And Jeremiah said that it started working. I appreciate. Hey,
Okay.
Jeremiah, I appreciate you giving us feedback like that. I certainly do appreciate it. And anybody that watches this while we're live or watching it, in playback, leave us a comment and let us know how we're doing and what's your best bets of the week. I'd like to know. Again, thanks for watching, Jeremiah. I appreciate it. All right. Other big games this weekend. How about Texas A&M? Well, excuse me. No, let's don't do that one. What's the other big UGA in Florida, Mason? You got a pick in that one. Let's go there first. And I do have a pick in Texas A&M, South Carolina. So we'll talk about that in a minute, guys. But UGA versus Florida, what you got?
I do have a play on this game, and I told the listeners, told you guys during our preview to stay away from the line. Stay away from this line. I'm not going to take my own advice. I'm taking Georgia at -16. If you go back and look at these games in recent years, the home or the favorites have not just won, but they've covered here recently several times, and it's becoming a trend. I think that continues. I think Georgia is the much better team, and I feel like DJ Lagway is probably in for a rude awakening. This is the game that Billy Napier could win and save his job for another season. I think after this game, he's going to be wishing he had a different job. Give me Georgia and the points.
I got to play as well. I'm going to play the first half under for Georgia, 17.5. Because the way I keep seeing it, I think 17 is, if everything goes well, I think 17 is probably about what Georgia maxes out in the first half. And look, we talked about it ad nauseum with this UGA team this year, Mason. You see the G on my chest, guys. But I call it like I see it. Georgia has sucked in the first half of most of their football games this season. So I feel like with this offense, no matter which defense shows up for Georgia, I can still win this bet. Whether it's the 2021, version of what we saw against Texas, basically, or reincarnated here in 2024, or it's what we've seen in some inconsistencies against Mississippi State. That doesn't really affect me here in this bet, and that's why I like it. I like Georgia first half under 17.5.
I like that play. That they only scored 23 against Texas, and they had the hottest start possible. So
Absolutely,
and a lot of turnovers and things going their way defensively. So that's probably not duplicable. So I like that bet.
yeah, I like that one. All right, other big games here. I need to look on my thing, and Jeremiah's got one. Arkansas versus Ole Miss, or it's Ole Miss at Arkansas. So just for the record, guys, Ole Miss going on the road to Arkansas. Jeremiah said he likes the over. I like A&M to beat SC. What is the over under on that one? Actually, I have it, so never mind. It's 44, and Jeremiah, I'm gonna have to fight you on that one, brother. I'm going under.
Hold on. The Arkansas Ole Miss has to be.
Oh, I'm sorry.
higher
I'm
than
sorry.
that.
I'm looking at Texas A&M, South Carolina. What is the over under on that? And get back to me, Jeremiah.
I'm pulling it up.
I was looking at Texas A&M, South Carolina. So since I already spilled the beans on that bet, I'm going under 44 in Texas A&M, South Carolina, guys. And I think this is going to be a defensive slugfest. South Carolina's got a really good defense. Texas A&M has a really good defense as well. I don't think South Carolina is going to be able to score a whole lot of points in this one for, no matter what situation. I just don't think it's a very good offense. The offensive line can't block, and that's a bad combination when going against Texas A&M. But with all that being said, I don't, we saw Marcel Reed come in and throw 2 passes in the second half of that game last week. And if you think you're about to run on South Carolina like you ran on LSU, I think you got another thing coming. And I'm not saying that Texas A&M can't run the football at all on South Carolina. They very well may be able to do that in the second half, if they wear them down. But South Carolina's no slouch on the defensive line, and they're not the 14th ranked defense in the SEC like LSU was going into last week. So give me the under 44 in that one, and I may or may not have a money line play on that one whenever we get towards the end, but I'm going to save that. Do you have a play on Texas A&M and South Carolina?
I'm going to lock that up with you, and I'm going to give us an extra hook. I found us a half there, so
44
under
and a half.
44 and a half.
Yeehaw. That's extra value right there, folks. I didn't see where did you have a play on that Arkansas Ole Miss game, Mason, by chance?
I don't.
I didn't have a pick on it either, so.
Yeah, not for the our normal picks. I don't, at least.
Okay. All right, let's keep it going, man. Louisville at Clemson. That's another one of the big ones this week. So what do you got as far as Louisville at Clemson? Because I've actually got 2 plays on that game.
Yeah, there were a few different ways to take this one, in my opinion. I've got Clemson to cover the first half at 6.5 points. Look, we talked about it in the preview. Clemson has been the hottest of hot teams on both sides of the football throughout the season in the first half. Now, minus the Georgia game where they didn't score in the first half, but their defense only gave up 3. You look at what Clemson's doing offensively; they've been phenomenal, specifically in that first half there. And on the flip side, Louisville has been very much so a second half team. And at this point in the season, you can't just at this point, it's a trend. It's something that is happening. There's no way to really just change course and change directions and start scoring a bunch of points early and things like that without some things going your way. I really feel like Clemson is a much better first half team, and Louisville's kind of the opposite of that. They're much better in the second half. So give me Clemson to cover 6.5 in the first half.
Okay, and we're thinking right along the same lines, but I'm going to cut you 1 quarter short of your bet, and I'm going to go Clemson first quarter minus 3.5. And
there you go.
Here's my thought process on that. Louisville has been horrible in the first quarter, and for whatever reason, they've been better in the second quarter than they have the first. So I call it what you want. It's a trend at this point. So I feel I like your play, and then I feel like I'm even safer here in the first quarter. But I like both of those plays. We're thinking right along the same lines. And then I've got a second play on this thing. And I'm going to go over 63, Mason, on this football game. That's a high number, and I do realize that. I think somebody's hitting 40 points in this one. And I think the loser of this one is right around 30. I think this thing's got a chance to go to 70 points total. I think this is going to be a high-scoring football game by the end of the second half. We've seen Louisville have the propensity and growth throughout the season to be able to score a lot of points. We've watched it kind of evolve throughout the season, and I know Clemson has got a better defense than what they faced all season, but at the same time, we've seen Clemson give up a lot of points in second halves of football games. I mean, hundreds of points. I mean, at this point this season in the second half. So I like the over to hit there, and I've tried to look at this every which way, and I got to do it. I can't keep myself from not playing it. So I'm jumping on it.
I'm not sure what your total is there, but I can get you a 62.5, and I'm going to fight you on that at 63.5 and say that it's under. I feel like Clemson's defense is going to show up for this game for 4 quarters. I really feel like most of their defense, the points that have been given up have been in the fourth quarter, really, and in garbage time a lot of times. I don't think that there is any garbage time when you're playing Louisville. So I like this. I like this total to stay under the 63.5. And there's a chance we both win out here at 63 even. But give me the under there, and I'll fight you on that one.
All right. I think Clemson's going to be wore out by the end of this football game. It's going to be a track meet, man, and you can't just have one group. And then this is the time of year where it's like, okay, those starters are really good, but you've got to have somebody to rotate in. You can't just play the starters the entire football game. I don't think, especially if Clemson is scoring quick, which I think they will in this football game. I don't know. That one's one of the most interesting games of the weekend to me. I feel like there's a lot of possible outcomes. I feel like it's the outside looking in, but I think Louisville can win that football game. I think it's very possible. Um, if things happen correctly and they don't turn the football over, that's kind of been a bugaboo for them. And we know Clemson has been really good at getting turnovers the last couple of years. So I think there's a couple of variables in that football game that could change the outcome in a few different ways. But looking back at some of the scores of that football game over the last few years, I mean, there was totals, and think about how Louisville has not really been that great since Lamar Jackson left versus where they are now with the coach that they've got. And even still, there was times where they're scoring a bunch of points, and then there was some points in the series in the late 20 teens where Clemson was scoring like 70 points. And this ain't whenever Clemson had like Trevor Lawrence. This was like, you know, this was like right as COVID was coming along. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That there's been a lot of points scored in that series. And I think that's going to be an action-packed game. It's going to be a lot of fun. That one's going down at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, y'all. You're going to want to check that out, I do believe. Am I missing one of the big games? Or how about a secondary matchup here? Do you have anything on Indiana at Michigan State?
I do. I'm taking Indiana in the fourth quarter to cover half a point. Um, I feel like
Let's go sicko mode.
Yeah, right. Um, I feel like Indiana is a team that plays four quarters, right? We've seen that. They're very disciplined. There's no let up on this team. And then when you look at Michigan State, they actually haven't played that well in the fourth quarter. Their offense seems a little bit gassed at that point. And I think that that coupled with the defense, which is going to be gassed, they don't have they don't really have the depth on defense as good as they are. Really feel like Indiana is going to be able to at least go up three in the fourth quarter there, as long as they aren't up just a ton where they're no longer reaching in their bag and just playing super conservative and safe. But even then, I think even a conservative Indiana team can score on a lot of teams, and Michigan State's one of them.
Yeah, I've got Indiana minus 7.5. Because I mean, Indiana is what you call a wagon, folks. And you ride that wagon till the damn wheels fall off. So I'm going to keep betting on Indiana, and they're going to. I mean, they've covered every which way this season, and then I have no reason to believe or reason to jump off of that train right this second. And Michigan State has showed me not crap. I mean, I look, I know that they're improving, and it's a slow burn out there. I get it. I think they got the right coach, all that stuff. But damn, I've tried to bet on them several times this season. They did cover for me once, but hot damn, man. Hard to watch, in my opinion. At this point, not fun to watch, but I'm gonna watch them this weekend because I'm gonna watch them Hoosiers. All right, man. Let's see here. How about what other games we got? I think that's all the big ones, man. What's another big game you got to bet on, Mason?
Um,
Oh, what about Pitt SMU? We didn't talk about Pitt SMU. You got to bet on it?
I don't.
I don't either.
I'm staying away from this. I'd love to bet on it. I think SMU is the right side of this. But after hearing some other YouTubers out there talking about it, it's kind of scared me away from it. SMU just they lost RJ Maryland. and they've really lost a lot on offense, and it's got me a little bit worried about picking Pitt to lose in this one.
Yeah, got them Panthers coming to town. The shit's about to change out
They're
there.
breathing down my neck, man. As as the week's gone on, it has just I honestly I should have been taking Pitt this whole time. You
That is
know,
hilarious.
maybe I got Pitt on the money line. I don't know.
It's so funny. This is the least watched show that we do on this channel, right? So way less people are going to see this than that saw, some of the breakdowns and things that we did. So it's funny how your opinion changes as the week goes on. I do it all the time. Um, and I have arguments in my head like, was my gut right or was my afterthought right? And I think each one of them's about 50 damn percent, man. So I don't, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
mean,
know.
I'm honestly worried about Pitt or about SMU turning the ball over in this game. Pitt has a nose for the football. SMU loves to give it up, and that's what scares me away. I think SMU is at least 7 points or 7.5 points better than Pitt, but in a clean game, and I don't know that that's what we're gonna get. So a little bit worried about that.
We both believe in momentum in football and in team sports in general, and teams get momentum. And who gained momentum last week and who lost momentum? Pitt had one of the best games they've had in a long time last week, and SMU had one of the worst games they've had in a long time last week.
Yeah.
So you got two different emotions going on those teams. And while I will be tuned in, I'm going to sit this one out as far as putting my hard-earned dollars on it. All right, how about Vandy at Auburn, Mason? This is a line that stuck out to me this week. Do you have a play on Vandy at Auburn?
I don't. I like it. I mean, it's kind of weird that Auburn is favored. They do get this game at home.
Why are they favored? And they suck at home.
I feel like Vegas just doesn't have a great read on Vanderbilt, and they're still a little bit behind on just how good this team is as a football team, just because they don't have the 4 and 5 stars that Auburn has on their side of the field. Doesn't mean they're a bad football team. They're very well coached. We've seen what Indiana has done, and Vanderbilt kind of reminds me of Indiana. Just has had a much harder schedule. So I'm gonna stay away from this one because I do think that there is a lot of potential in Auburn. That there's a lot of they've had a lot of games just not really break their way. I can count at least 2 of them that they really should have won. And and last week they gained a little bit of momentum in my opinion. So I'll steer clear of this one mainly because it is being played on the plains there.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Vandy +7. Again, Vandy is a wagon. I won on them last week. If Vandy can keep it within 18.5 of Texas, which in all reality they kept it within 3, then they can cover +7 against Auburn. So and Vanderbilt, there ain't no shucks, we lost last week, I feel sorry for myself. It's Vanderbilt. This is the best year they've had in forever. They're celebrating a 3-point loss last week to Texas. You know what I'm saying? If anything, they're proud of that, what they put on the field last week. And if they had not turned the football over, just maybe one less time, they beat Texas last week at home.
Yeah.
So everybody played well enough, but Texas's defense stepped up and got some turnovers, and that was the difference in the football game. Honestly, that defense getting turnovers was the only reason Georgia didn't beat them 49-7 the week before or 2 weeks before or whatever it was. All right, look, let's talk about this Ole Miss Arkansas game here for just a minute because we got people in the comment section talking about it. So let's kind of put our heads together here and talk about it. We did talk about this game some this week, but Ole Miss going on the road to Arkansas. Arkansas scored a bajillion points last week. Everything looked really good offensively. Sounds like the team is going to be a lot healthier, as healthy as they've been in a few weeks, I guess I should say. I guess the big running back is going to be good for this one. I'm sure Jaquindon Jackson will be probably playing, I would think. Right, Mason? He was on track to possibly play last week, right? And then didn't play a whole lot. So I think he should be back this week. Jaquindon Jackson, that is. Taylor Green had an amazing game last week. I feel like this is kind of a bad spot for Ole Miss here. The over-under is set at 53.5. Jeremiah says over. And
Yeah, I'm seeing Jackson as doubtful.
Doubtful.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's I'm less worried about that, I guess, as long as you've got the big running back. And the big freshman. I can't remember his name yet. His name is not yet etched into my memory. But it will be. That he looks like a damn refrigerator running down the field.
I know his last name's Russell.
Russell, there you go. But over under set at 53.5. Jeremiah, I believe, in the comment section said that he likes the over in that one. Let me check right quick. And Jeremiah did.
Braylon Russell is the guy's name from Benton, Arkansas.
And Jeremiah did say Jackson
253.
Yeah, that's a big boy.
That's a big boy.
Jeremiah says, I think Arkansas wins, but I like the over the best. And Texas A&M is free money. I don't see Ole Miss at Arkansas being under 60 total.
Yeah, Miss at 53.5.
What's the most amount of points we've seen scored on Ole Miss this season, guys? I mean, that's kind of one of the first things I always go look at. I mean, what's the team? Because I'm of the belief that this is a pretty good defense for Ole Miss here. I mean, Mason and I have talked about it. We've had conversations, who has the better defense, Tennessee or Ole Miss? And, I think you're splitting hairs at that point. I think both of them are pretty damn good.
LSU scored 29. That's the most they've given up.
And Trey Harris is supposed to be back for this one. See, do y'all sit there and think that, we've seen LSU and Ole Miss play, LSU beat Ole Miss.
I think Harris is still kind of unknown at this point.
I thought I had heard he was coming back this week. I mean, I'm not sure. The Ole Miss scored 26 on Oklahoma, right? 27 on South Carolina, 17 against Kentucky. I don't know, man. I don't know if Ole Miss has got it on the offensive line. What's that?
So no Princely U in this game either.
Look, there's a reason I didn't bet on that one, guys. So I'm gonna let that one be. But
excuse me. It says he's not on the injury report.
Who's that?
So he is Princely U. He is playing. Trey Harris is questionable. They got 4 offensive linemen. Looks like 3 of them are probable though. Walter Nolan's back. Caden Prescore is going to play. They're not too banged up.
Yeah. Well, look, I like where your head's at with Arkansas, because my initial thought this week was like, holy crap, Ole Miss might be in trouble. We'll see. That Arkansas offense, man, it's a bit of an enigma. It's we've seen it perform at a really high level, and we've also seen it. We've seen it struggle. We've seen it turn the ball over. So, all right, let's keep going with these picks, because my wife's got a bunch of chores for me to do, and I better get them done, or I'm going to get a spanking. We got everybody coming over tomorrow for Halloween. Give me a big game, Mason. You got to pick in. What you got, man? We're kind of down to the secondary games here. You got one.
How about
go ahead.
Oregon in the first half at -7.5 against Michigan. Oregon's been another team that starts out pretty hot, and I don't I mean, I know Davis Warren is the quarterback for Michigan. He looked pretty good. Actually found out Jack Tuttle retired today.
I saw
So
that.
he is no longer even an option for Michigan. But I really like Oregon and what they're able to do offensively in this one. I understand Michigan's got a pretty good defense and has been playing better as of late, but Oregon is just, I mean, they're head and shoulders above Michigan. So, to put money on them to cover, to get at least 8 points in the first half over Michigan, I think is a pretty safe bet at this point, and until it's not, right? But yeah, I like Oregon in the first half there.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So you got Oregon first half. All right, I got one for you that I'm going first half as well. How about USC going on the road to Washington? I'm going to take USC in the first half minus 2.5 in that football game. I feel like that's just an absolute steal. And USC's been good in the first half. Their issues have been in the second half of football games, not being able to close things out. I like, and not to mention, I talked about USC last week. They've looked really shitty at times this year, guys. But I thought we saw some of the best football that USC's played all year last week. Especially on the offensive side of the ball, I like USC to be able to cover a 2.5 point spread in the first half against Washington, no doubt about it. What else you got, brother? Give me a good one.
How about Duke at plus 20.5 at Miami? We've
Ooh.
seen Miami sort of play with their food, all the year really, but definitely here in the middle of the season. They did cover against Florida State last week, but I feel like Duke is a much better team than Florida State right now. Manny Diaz has got the Blue Devils playing really good football. They really should have won last week against SMU, and I think that 3 touchdowns is too many for a Miami team to cover. As bad as their defense has been playing, I like Duke in this one to at least cover the 20.5, if not make this a really close football game by the end of it, and one that Miami's reaching into their bag in the fourth quarter again to sneak away with a win and stay undefeated. Give me Duke at plus 20.5.
Yeah, they like to do that. Miami likes to play some interesting fourth quarter football games. They're one of the most entertaining football teams in America. There's no doubt about that. All right, how about Kentucky at Tennessee? I've got Kentucky first half under 6.5 in that football game. I think a couple of field goals would be overachieving for this Kentucky offense at this point in the first half against this Tennessee defense.
Yeah.
Give me a break. I don't see Kentucky being able to stretch out that secondary at all, right? And you're going to go run into the teeth of this Tennessee defense? I don't think so. Not in the first half. It's not happening. Give me Kentucky first half under 6.5 points total. I think Tennessee could hold them to a goose egg in the first half, to be honest with you, pretty
Okay.
easily. So,
Well, I really like both of these defenses, and I'm not too keen on either of the offenses. So I'm just going to go for the whole game under 45.5 here. I think that Tennessee's still working some things out on offense. They're getting ready for a Georgia game, here in a couple weeks. Not going to want to show a ton on film or anything like that. The defense is going to show up for Tennessee, but I think that Kentucky's going to show up as well. They've got one big win over Ole Miss already this season. The defense was definitely showing up and showing out in that game, and I think that they're going to show up in this one as well. My only concern is that the Kentucky team has quit already, and that could open some things up for Tennessee's offense. But in a conservative game plan, I'm gonna go with the under 45.5 here. I like both these defenses.
yeah, I'm with you on that. The only thing I'm worried, I was a little worried early in the week when we talked about this football game. Kentucky gave up over 300 yards rushing last week to Auburn, and so it it seemed to me like maybe Kentucky had quit. I'm wondering
Yeah.
if it's not going to be able to get the blood pumping for them, being able to step into Knoxville. I mean, Kentucky's been terrible at home. It can't be glossed over. Like Kentucky, I want to say is 2-13 in their last 15 home games or something like that. I mean, it's unbelievable how bad they are at home. And for whatever reason, play a whole lot better on the road. Got their win against Ole Miss this year on the road. All right, I've got one more pick in this one, and then I've got a couple money lines. So, how many more you got, Mason?
I got 3 more.
Give me a couple real quick.
All right, give me Minnesota at Illinois over 45.5. I like both of these teams' defenses. I understand why it's such a low point total, but I'm kind of liking both of their offenses as well. I mean, Illinois didn't play particularly bad against Oregon. I think Oregon's just really that good. So I like them to be able to score against Minnesota. And then on the flip side, Minnesota, their offense is coming off of a couple of really good performances. I think the quarterback's getting hot. Give me the over 45.5. And then looking at Iowa State, I've got the team total over 34.5 versus Texas Tech. Texas Tech's defense has been absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Iowa State's offense has been really good. So therefore, it doesn't take too much strong reasoning skills to come to the conclusion that Iowa State is going to score a bunch of points. So give me over 34.5 for them on the team total. And I'll go ahead and give you my last one here before we get into the money lines. Kansas State at Houston under 46.5. Look, the Houston unders have been very hot, mainly because their offense is really bad. And I don't think that this Kansas State defense is one to get right on. You know, this isn't the right matchup for your offense to really get going. The Kansas State offense hasn't been great either. And Houston's defense is definitely the bright spot on their team. So give me the under 46.5. I think this one probably ends up right at 45, which doesn't help me sleep at night or anything like that. But I think that this could be a pretty sloppy game through and through.
My last pick against the spread until I get to my money line picks here for the week. UCLA at Nebraska. Nebraska is a 6.5 point favorite there. I'm taking Nebraska minus 6.5. I think Nebraska bounces back. They're right on the cusp of bowl eligibility. They've got everything in the world to gain from winning this football game at home. I just think that Nebraska can figure out a way to win this by a touchdown or more against UCLA.
Yeah, I like that.
What else you got, Mason? That was my last one against the spread.
Yeah, that's all I got. We can
Okay.
get started on the money line. I see Jeremiah asking about who we picked for the Arkansas and Ole Miss game. I've got Arkansas on the money line, mostly because there's good value here at plus 210. I think that Arkansas could very well win this thing. Really like Taylor Green in this offense, and I really like the value there to double my money.
Look, you're going to see a trend with my picks with the money line, and it fits right into what you just said. I've got Arkansas on the money line as well. All my money line picks are home dogs this weekend. They're at home, and they're the underdog in the football game. I've got Arkansas just like you. I've got South Carolina plus 110 on the money line. Notice, guys, that's only a plus 110. Vegas is all but telling you that there's a really good chance South Carolina can win that football game. I'm telling you, this is a bad spot for Texas A&M. This is a bad setup. And you're going on the road to South Carolina where it doesn't matter if they're 0-12, they're going to be loud and into the game. And these two quarterbacks, it's going to be a whole lot different for them going on the road and doing it. We've seen it time and time again in the SEC. And then my last money line pick, I've got Syracuse on the money line. Again, they're at home against Virginia Tech. They're a dog. Give me Syracuse, South Carolina, and Arkansas. Those are my 3 money line picks of the week.
Yeah, I like the South Carolina pick. I'm not going to lock that one up with you. I just don't see enough value there. I wish I was getting them at a 6-point dog or something like that. I would definitely lock that one up. But and to further your point, I mean, Marcel Reed presumably is going to start in this game. This is a terrible defense to start against. For a young quarterback, he has not played a defense like South Carolina. LSU is not like South Carolina. And any of the starts prior that he's had are not like South Carolina, especially on the road. I think that he's in for a couple of turnovers in that game. It's going to be messy, which is why I like the under in that one. I've also got Syracuse on the money line at plus 160 over Virginia Tech. I think that people look at what Syracuse did last week against Pitt and think, my gosh, they're terrible. How do they win so many games? They're not that bad. A lot of picks in that game. I really feel like Syracuse is a pretty good team, and I think that they'll get right. Honda McCord will bounce back in this game, and I think that they will beat the Hokies, especially being at home for that one. Give me Vandy over Auburn at plus 225. A lot of value there.
The doors,
like,
baby.
Yeah, there's a chance we both kind of cover in that one. Vandy's been really good. They believe that they can win every single football game they're in. There's going to be no quit in this bunch. Really like your play with the Vandy and the +7 there, but I mean, I'll take it one further and try to get some money there on the money line. And then I've also got Washington over USC. I mean, Washington at home, they've been really, really good. I mean, they lost to Washington State at home, 24-19. This is a new coach, new offense, only put up 19 points in that game. Beat Northwestern at home handedly, 24-5 in that one. Beat Michigan at home, 27-17. And, and now you get USC coming to your place. That's not an easy stadium to play in. And I feel like the offense has taken a couple of steps forward. I know that they ran into a tough Iowa defense on the road and only put up 16, only put up 17 last week against Indiana, also on the road. That's a really good Indiana team, though. I think that Washington is looking to kind of move the needle this week against USC, and I think that they can win this one outright.
Yep. I like those. Jeremiah said, I think it's going to be Texas A&M versus Tennessee or Georgia, depending on who wins the head-to-head. Come on, Jeremiah. You know who's going to win that head-to-head, brother. Tennessee ain't beating Georgia in Athens, man. Come on now. That ain't how that goes, brother. I remember one time in the recent past, Tennessee was ranked number 1 for 1 week. And then they strolled into Athens and got that ass beat.
Yeah, it was number 1 versus number 1.
Yeah.
In that game. It was an interesting little matchup.
Yeah, Tennessee don't play very well in Athens. And can you imagine Nico Iamaleava in Athens with that play? I mean, that's one of the biggest home games of the year. That's going to be the craziest atmosphere of the year at Sanford Stadium. Nico is going to melt like butter on a hot summer day. I'm telling you right now, he'll fold like a freaking lawn chair. All right, guys. I certainly do appreciate you guys tuning in to the First and Long College Football Show. We have had a awesome week chopping it up with you guys. Certainly do appreciate your patronage, you liking the video. That helps us so much, man. Liking the video just propels these things and helps another 100 people be able to see it. And we're trying to build a community here and have some fun while we're doing it. And you guys have been a big part of that, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you hadn't subscribed, I hope you'll consider doing that. We do this show every week. It's called Between the Lines. I hope you'll come join us again next week and let us know how you did in the betting window. But for tonight and for this week, we're going to call it. If you missed some of our game previews, predictions, all that stuff, we did some of them on Sunday. We did some of them yesterday. We did like 10 of them this week, Mason. So there is tons of content out there. 10 of the biggest games in the country. We've already broke them down. go check that out. I certainly do appreciate it. Again, y'all have a great night and good luck this weekend. We'll see you all Saturday night for the Overreaction Show. Have a good one.